From KZN to Mpumalanga, where police are still searching for a 13-year-old boy kidnapped in Emalahleni. In a bizarre twist, Katlego Marite's abductors left a note demanding 15 bitcoins as a ransom. Well, Shireen Ramjoo is the founder of Liquid Crypto Money, and she joins us now to give us a sense of what exactly this demand it's about. It's a rather unusual demand, but before we get there, perhaps you can help us all, but just very briefly tell us, what is Bitcoin? So
essentially what cryptocurrency is that it is a form of digital currency that allows for instantaneous and cross-border transfers. So what that essentially means in a nutshell is that we now have a value asset that is now tradable and can be traded anywhere instantly across borders. Traditionally with our fiat currency, you know that it will take a few days or a week or two to send money across borders. But what we're seeing with cryptocurrency, and Bitcoin is actually the world's first cryptocurrency, is that now it's borderless and money can, get transacted anywhere instantly.
But of course, I mean, people have raised issues, fears about this whole concept that it can be manipulated, whether it's how people can make money by trading bitcoins, but also the fact that there aren't the kinds of safeguards that traditional systems have had.
I think we need to take a step back because for me, it is a new trend. So when the internet first came, and I like to make this example, when the internet first came, many governments were against the internet because they didn't understand what the internet could bring. So as much as, people talk about the cons of cryptocurrencies, there is a lot of pros. With that said, I'd like to highlight the fact that with cryptocurrency now, there is no need for a middleman. And like you're rightfully saying, we cushion to think that an institute or a centralized system will, keep us safe. But we've also seen that centralized systems sometimes do not always keep our money safe, or it's prone to hacks. We have online banking scams, and we have all of these type of things where, if you look at countries like Zimbabwe, Venezuela, with inflation rates, in centralized systems, there has been those issues. So going back to Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, we shouldn't say that there's loopholes. However, we need to find regulatory aspects for us to find ways to regulate it so that it becomes more safer. Right now, because there isn't much regulatory frameworks around cryptocurrency worldwide, what we're starting to see is that some governments are saying yes to cryptocurrency, some governments are saying no, but the technology of Bitcoin, and this is so revolutionary, called the blockchain technology, is going to change many other industries, not only finance. So if you think about, the internet first started with email, and predominantly that's what we used it for. However, the internet didn't stop at email. There were many applications for the internet, and the same phenomena is happening here. So the first application of this blockchain technology is cryptocurrency, and there's many other uses for this blockchain technology, and this is why I'm saying it's so powerful. It's going to revolutionize many other industries apart from finance.
But then you and I know that there is a cost to lack of regulation. Yes, they can be cumbersome at times, they can introduce unnecessary bureaucracy, but I would rather put up with that than put up with no or less safety, a less safer environment. So shouldn't that be the focus? Because yes, you are right. There have been a lot of fraud. People's money does get stolen, even though South Africa, for instance, prides itself with having one of the best, financial services infrastructure in the world. But at the very least, you can still hold, and people have done that, the bank, responsible, and then you can, in many instances, recoup your money.
Okay. So what this new trend is something that everybody needs to learn. So right now, because it's in its infancy stages, it's a learning process. The same way we learned, how to use online banking is the same way we start to learn how to use cryptocurrency. So cryptocurrency and blockchain technology is very safe, actually. It is trackable as well. Many people say, there's a lot of fraud that's going on. Bitcoin cannot be traced, and that is far from the truth. So this immutable ledger ledger that we're talking about, the blockchain technology, records every transaction that happens worldwide. So there is a link to you with that record. And because traditionally, like, it is one centralized system that houses the authority to track, these payments. Now, what happens in the blockchain technology system is that we call them miners in the system, and instead of one central house keeping this ledger, there's many central houses keeping the ledger, and this is what we call nodes. So that actually means even if one centralized system in this space gets hacked or goes down, there's many ledgers that still will be open for you to have those transactions. Now, what's happening currently is that if FNB, for example, or Nedbank, or one of our traditional banks in South Africa goes down, that means the whole network in that bank. So you cannot access your bank accounts, you cannot do anything until the network is back. But in this system with cryptography, what is happening now is that not one, one node is holding that information, it's various nodes. So even if one seems to go down, there's various nodes that will actually have that public ledger that will actually continue working as usual.
Well, I mean, is that not because, I mean, you're talking here or emphasizing what in essence is a technical, aspect to it, but you're not really addressing the safety aspect. And I remember, like, I mean, some people have even raised the fact that you can't even trace where this thing originated. Who created Bitcoin, and, because that becomes an important thing, don't you think?
Not necessarily. I tell you why. Because once you understand blockchain technology, it's irrelevant who created it, because this technology is so revolutionary that we don't need to know who created it. It's like you using your smartphone. Do you look at your smartphone and say, okay, it's this guy who created the smartphone, and this is the applications on the smartphone. Yeah, so remember, this is the technology.
It doesn't have the kinds of inherent dangers that a Bitcoin has to have, where you don't. But what I'm saying, would you not agree that it would, I mean, go some way towards instilling confidence in people that this thing is for real?
It is for real. I think also we need to look at the fact that it is an immutable ledger. And that's the one of the powerful things. Exactly? It means that it cannot be defrauded, firstly. Secondly, if you understand, and this is why I'm going back to the emphasis that it is an educational drive, because when you understand how cryptocurrency works, you'll obviously do the necessary precautions to make sure you safeguard your money and keep safe. It's the same aspect with online banking. So if you give your password to everyone, send an OTP to the wrong, cell phone address, then obviously it's prone to hacking. Also, if somebody sends you an email, a phishing email, that means they can access your account. So there's certain things in the cryptocurrency space where you need to learn in order for you to be safe. And it is a learning curve, and this is why I'm saying it has to go back to the education element to it, because this is the future generation of currency. What we're currently also seeing worldwide is that governments are starting to create their own cryptocurrencies. Tunisia is the first country in the world that actually has, their government-issued electronic currency called the electronic dinar. Sweden is looking to create the e-krona. Senegal is in plans to roll out the electronic CFA. SAB in South Africa is looking to create the electronic rand. So we do know that everyone will be using electronic currency and cryptocurrency in the very near future. And this is why we're saying this is a new trend. It's understandable that some people don't understand it, and then they get hacked, or they don't understand that they need to keep their private keys, because that is the only thing that will access your account.
But presumably those countries that you're saying are about to create the system will have a regulatory framework in place. They won't just allow it to just happen in a vacuum. And isn't that what is the problem? And perhaps less education, as you are saying it, because even though people still had to be taught about, like, e-banking or e-filing and everything that goes with that, there had to be a proper regulatory system in place to protect those who may still be ignorant. So the issue is really regulation, less so education, yes. Isn't it? Okay, but now I want to, sorry, we run out of time, but there's a couple of quick ones I have to ask you. How much is 15 Bitcoins in rands?
2015. One at today's value is over 100,000. It's about 110,000 at today's value. 2 years ago, one Bitcoin was 3,500. So it is designed to do the opposite of what our traditional currencies do, and that is deflate. So traditionally we have inflation, and that's what lowers our rand value. So these cryptocurrencies, especially decentralized cryptocurrencies, do the opposite. So over time they gain value.
Why then would you say Bitcoins would be attractive to Katlego Marite's abductors?
Essentially, if you had bought 1,000 Rand worth of Bitcoins in 2011, you would have had at least 100 Bitcoin. So if you look at the stats with 100 Bitcoin times 110,000 Rand, that's a few hundred millions that we're talking of. So obviously this is attracting theft, and it's attracting people who want to scam and fraud and all of that. So it is, I mean, if people understand that, okay, if you have a lot of Bitcoin, it's easily that you can become a target.
But can I track that person down? In other words, if, for example, there is an attempt is made to actually track these people down, and you now say, okay, we're going to give you the 15 Bitcoins that you are looking for. Can the police, can the security forces track those people down?
I just want to go one step
using whatever
yes.
system.
So South African Reserve Bank currently is looking to look at regulatory frameworks in the country for, you know.
That's not there yet.
No, but they are in discussion. Yeah. They are also very aware that there's a huge market, and it's a growing market in South Africa, of people getting into the space. So this is why they're looking to create regulatory frameworks. Now, some of the traditional cryptocurrency exchanges in the country are competent companies, and they obviously have to comply with certain regulations from SARB. That means they house and have your information with your ID number and all of the necessary information, you know, if you have to go and apply at a traditional bank for FICA. If somebody steals your Bitcoin and sends it to one of our local exchanges, automatically that means that it will be tracked, because there is a tracking number with your, you know, ID number linked to that account number, and it can be tracked.
What about fake numbers, fake IDs?
You cannot, well, that can happen in a banking institute as well. There is fake IDs and fake numbers as well.
So you're saying that even as things stand, Katlego Marite's abductors can be tracked if they were to be given this money?
Yes.